Hey everybody, this is Shane Lemaster with mindops.com coming at you again with another episode on our YouTube channel. So for everyone watching, please visit us at www.mind-ops.com. At MindOps, we're a fully functioning, full-service counseling and consulting practice, private practice based out of Fort Collins, Colorado, where we help all sorts of individuals from every walk of life reach their mental performance goals, their physical performance goals. We do it using our background in sport and performance psychology, general psychotherapy, addictions counseling, and psychedelic integration therapies. We consider ourselves eclectic, so we use a lot of different styles of therapy based on what the client needs. So please come check us out. If you have any performance questions or you have any desire to improve your performance in any area of your life, come let us know. We can certainly help. So today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, something very personal to me in my own journey, and that is the 12 steps. Okay, most people hear about the 12 steps in the context of 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Emotions Anonymous, any number of different anonymous groups. And this is where the 12 steps tends to bring our mind when we think of them, right? So it was originally developed for Alcoholics Anonymous, and then since its inception, many decades ago, it has morphed and shaped and changed slightly based on the context and the type of people that it's serving. So for me personally, being a former addict of many things, the 12 steps was critical in my own development, my own self-exploration, and my own recovery. But I still use the concepts even today, even though I've been sober for nearly a decade now. I still use the concepts in my daily life to just improve my experience in daily life. Living this new way of living that is more about giving back to others rather than self-serving, which is where a lot of my addiction stuff came from in the first place. So I want to talk about the 12 steps today, and I want to talk about it outside of the context of these 12-step groups. Okay, I find that the 12 steps can be extremely instrumental in helping anybody find a new path in life and learn to navigate this new way of being, right? So whenever we figure out there's a problem going on in our life and we have a desire to want to change it, it can often be very scary because this change means that we're going to be going into uncharted territory. In uncharted territory, the unknown, all this stuff can be extremely scary, and even scary to the point where we experience paralysis from this fear and we just can't get started in the change process. So to me, the 12 steps is less about recovery from an addiction, which is where it sort of started, but more about giving people a blueprint, giving people a step-by-step guide as to how to integrate a new way of living into their daily life. And it works for everything. It works for exercise, it works for addictions, it works for mental health issues. We can overlay this 12-step model on all of these things and find that we can remove it from the context that tends to turn a lot of people off of the 12 steps, which are these 12-step meetings, and we can use this tool in another way. Okay, so like I said, a lot of people get turned off or not even exposed to the 12 steps because they've tried out the 12-step meetings and just don't find the personalities in the room, people that they don't, they're people that they don't want to hang around. They encounter this word God, right, that in the 12 steps that tends to scare some people off. So I've kind of over the years, I've been exposed to a number of different versions of the 12 steps, and I've sort of collaborated them all into this one model that I want to propose to you guys today. So we'll go ahead and get into that, and I will show you my version of the 12 steps and how it may be applied to almost any sort of change process, okay? So we're gonna go over to the whiteboard over here and I'm gonna go ahead and lay it out, okay? So, like I said, the 12 steps can really just be a blueprint for leading a new, happier existence if our current existence is not serving us well, okay? So we'll go through all 12 steps and I'll break them down a little bit, okay? So step number 1, and again, these 12 steps are meant to be worked in order. They're not meant to be jumped around with. It's important that they build off of each other and that you fully complete one step before moving to another, or else you won't get the full impact, the full positive benefit from each step. Also, another suggestion is that you find a mentor, somebody who's been through this process before, because oftentimes when we ask ourselves these questions and go into this mode of self-discovery, oftentimes we come out with more questions than we went in with. So making sure you have a mentor to sort of guide you through it and call you out on your BS, call you out on the lies that you are telling yourself through the process, because it happens to all of us. We try and minimize a lot of the aspects that we encounter in our self-exploration, and we sometimes need someone to, call us out on it and help us take some deeper accountability, which will guarantee you sort of a deeper experience of personal development through that process. So, all right. So step number 1. Step number 1 is asking yourself, am I stuck? Am I stuck somewhere in my life? Can I acknowledge that there is potentially a problem going on with my daily experience? Maybe in my behaviors, maybe with an addiction. Am I stuck here? Okay. Once you've determined and acknowledged that yes, there is a problem, that requires some level of acceptance and some humility to admit that there's a problem, but it also takes a lot of courage. And once you get past that step and you've admitted that there's a problem, step number 2 comes into place. Step number 2, you start to ask yourself, is it possible? Is it even possible to become unstuck from this problem? Try and imagine what life would be like if this problem was not in your life. Can you imagine that? Henry Ford had a quote that I love that says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So I tend to sway more towards the mindset of, anything is possible, and yes, even if it seems dismal in this moment and I seem extremely stuck with no apparent way out, I do see a possibility that, maybe I'm not seeing the answer right now, but I can get unstuck. It is possible. Okay? So recognizing that you can be unstuck, maybe you're unsure of how, but it is possible. Okay? Step number 3. Asking yourself, am I, on my own, going to solve my problem? My feeling is that if you were going to solve your problem already or get the answers from inside your brain, you would have already done it. So this is a good question to ask yourself because it leads to a further question. Can you be willing to accept help? Okay? It's my experience that multiple minds are always better than one. And oftentimes when we find ourselves stuck, it's because we're stuck in our own problem-solving mindset. So if we can include other people in that problem-solving process, oftentimes they'll point out solutions to those problems that we might not have seen before. So, am I on my own going to solve my problem? Probably not. I would have done it already. So being willing to accept help also involves an aspect of humility, swallowing your pride and asking for the help. Okay. Step number 4. This is the first step where we start to do some work. And it's a tough step because it requires a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of self-reflection that is not often easy to either identify or not easy to sit with some of our resentments. So, step number 4, write down everything that has negatively impacted me. Don't leave anything out. So this is everything in your life that you have had a resentment for, whether, it can be as small as, in 3rd grade, somebody stole a piece of gum from me or pushed me off the swing set, and I still carry that memory. The memory probably has some associated negative emotions with it, and that's an old resentment. It can be as minor as something like that, or as major as some drastic trauma or failed relationship or abuse even. So writing down everything that has negatively impacted you, including, social constructs. So, has capitalism wronged you in some way? Has the government wronged you? Writing down all your resentments. And this can be really tough because we start to develop a really long list and start to see, man, we really carry a lot of these negative impacts with us, even past the event. So it's a good awareness exercise to just see from what you've written on the paper, you really carry a lot of baggage. Most of us do. So then we get to step number 5. After you've written down every way you've been negatively impacted, you honestly tell someone trustworthy about your resentments and how stuck you are. Okay, so this involves sharing the weight of the resentment so that you no longer have to carry the full brunt. You've told somebody you've gotten it out. Oftentimes they can help validate or comfort you. It also helps you let go of this pain mentality or victim mentality that I have been wronged my whole life and blah, blah, blah. And we get stuck in that story that we tell ourselves, which tends to manifest more of it in our daily experience. But this telling of somebody about our resentments and how stuck you are, you'll find that when you do this, and it is scary to get started, but you'll find that when you're finished, you feel a lot lighter. The resentments don't carry as much power or as much weight as they once did because they've been expressed to somebody else, and someone else accepts and understands where you're coming from. Okay? So telling someone trustworthy, someone that's not going to use it against you. Okay? Then step number 6, asking yourself, what are my maladaptive patterns? Okay, so we can identify patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of emotion in our life that have shown up to this point, right? And we use step 4, this list of resentments, to really point out what are our patterns. Why do we form resentments around certain behaviors? Why do we react emotionally when people do certain things to us? And identifying these patterns is extremely important in the change process. If we can't identify our patterns that have not served us in the past, then we don't have any hope of changing them. So become aware of your patterns through step 4, through step 5, and sometimes by telling someone, they'll help point out some of your patterns as well. So just be open to accepting these. This is where you're at, and this is not where you're going to be forever. Okay? So then we get to step 7. Asking yourself, am I willing to live in a new way that's not all about me? Okay, so this is how we used to live. Very self-serving, selfish, and not much consideration or regard for others. If this is, like an addiction or a certain maladaptive behavior pattern. So you're just asking yourself, am I willing to give up this old way of life that did me and a lot of other people damage or just didn't help me achieve my goals? And am I willing to live in a new way that's not all about me? Okay? So giving up the selfishness for selfless service to others. Once you've come to a place where you can be willing to live a new way, number 8 says prepare to apologize for all the damage you've done to others, right? So this is where we need to start preparing ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically to apologize to those we've harmed. So this may involve coaching, role-playing, prayer and meditation to help get your mindset and your emotions squared away and down to baseline. Okay, just prepare yourself to apologize because it is a daunting process, and don't hold any expectations. Okay, so when we apologize to others, it's up to them whether they accept it or not. But we've done our part. Okay, so let me go to step number 9. Make amends wherever possible without doing more harm. Now, there's a difference between amends and apologies. Apologies are saying you're sorry. Amends are saying you're sorry and then changing behavior so that it doesn't harm anyone in the future. So amends involve a behavior change. Okay? So make amends wherever possible without doing more harm. If making your amends is going to cause someone further harm in their life, then it's appropriate not to make those amends. Okay? So if, say for an example, you want to go make an amends to a man you know because you've been cheating on, his wife's been cheating on him with you, you don't want to go make that amends to that gentleman by letting him know that you've been having an affair with his wife because it's going to do him more harm. It's just an example. But the point is, we need to clean up our side of the street. That's our responsibility. It's their responsibility to clean up their side if there's any blame to be laid on them. And again, that's not for us to expect them to do. We just need to hold ourselves to a high standard and make our amends, clean up our side of the street. So make these amends. You're going to find this to be an extremely cleansing process. Again, more weight will be lifted off your shoulder. You're no longer going to hold on to the guilt and shame that you've held on to for so long for the damage that you've done. And making amends to yourself too. This involves self-compassion as well. So step number 10 involves continuing to evaluate your thoughts and behaviors on a daily basis. So this is a reflection step. And this continues to be done every single day, to continually evaluate and reflect on your thoughts and behaviors, taking accountability for yourself daily. Okay? So just making sure that you're using your new mindfulness and reflective skills to reflect on, the thought patterns and the behaviors that are showing up, and then modifying them as necessary. Number 11, constant improvement of our connection to our conscious awareness. Okay, so conscious awareness involves this mindfulness piece again, which we've discussed in a previous video. But once we've established some connection to this mindfulness, making sure that we initiate that daily in our lives. So making sure that we are consciously aware of our thoughts, consciously aware of our behaviors, and we're constantly trying to improve our connection to that mindfulness, and we're always trying to improve those behavior patterns and thought patterns to be more beneficial for us and to help guide us closer to our goals rather than getting in the way. Okay, so stay vigilant with your new way of being. Make it a daily practice. Integrate it into your routines. Maybe integrate it through bibliotherapy and reading up on conscious awareness topics. But keep it in the forefront of your mind always. And lastly, step number 12, share what you've learned with others, teach others, and be of service to others. Okay, so I always heard that in order to keep what you have to give it away. And I've also heard that the best way to keep something fresh in your mind and to really imprint it in your mind and your personality and your way of being is to teach it. Okay, so through this whole process of self-discovery, share what you've learned about yourself with other people. Share it with them about the process, and help teach them, help guide them through the process too if they're struggling. And of course, be of service to others. This goes back to leading a selfless life rather than a selfish life. Try and give back more than you take away from the collective stream of consciousness or your society, your community. Try and give back more than you take away. So keep what you have by giving it to others. This is really important. Plus you'll get that little dopamine and serotonin rush that we all love when we help others. Okay, so this is my version of the 12 steps. If you have any questions or comments about it, please leave them in the comments section. Also, you can find us at mindops.com. I'm a licensed addiction counselor, so if you have any desire to do some of this work on yourself, please contact us through the website and we can set up your first session for free. I do Skype sessions as well if you are watching this from outside of the Fort Collins, Colorado area. So feel free to contact us, and let's move into a new, higher level of existence. And you can find that if you're stuck through the 12 steps. Okay, thank you for watching. Please like and share and subscribe to our page. That's how we get the word out. This was Shane Lemaster signing out for mindops.com about the 12 steps, a blueprint for a happier life.